Hello, hello. I'm Grizzhoot the Owl Bear. Let's switch over to Facecam. Yo. So I've been playing Wind Waker HD on my channel on the weekends. I've been having a lot of fun with it, and I mentioned that it might be fun to try to do like a sort of like a style gameplay mechanic breakdown. Try to recreate some of the things from Wind Waker in Godot. So this is going to be the first part of me trying to do that. So, let's see. Let me switch over. So here's a couple of Godot scenes. I have one that's an outdoor and one that's an indoor. Right now they're identical. I just wanted to get a couple scenes set up to play around in. I also have over here, this is noclip.website, and it's like a 3D viewer of some old games. And so this is Outset Island. We can kind of use this to get an idea of how they did some of this stuff. So I'm not gonna worry about the water stuff for now. I'm really gonna be focused on like land, so like tiling textures and trim sheets and stuff like that for the environment, and obviously like some props and stuff like trees and grass. Maybe a sign. And then also looking at doing a character. So like here's Errol. I don't think Link is in this scene. I don't know why there's two Errols. So I just wanted to take a look at some of these. You can go in and like enable the wireframe so you can kind of see. It's a little hard to see with some of this stuff because there's the way that they do the sky dome. It's an old way of doing it. And obviously like Wind Waker predates physically based rendering, which most modern game engines use now. But, you know, this will give us kind of an idea of, like, low poly characters. Like, you can see how low poly that is. There's also models resource, which has a lot of 3D models from games. I don't know. They have Wind Waker stuff. Well, I know they have it. I just don't know how much they have. Okay, so they do have Link, so we can look at that in Blender, which will be good. Let's see. Maybe one of the enemies, the Bokoblin. They don't have any of the environments, which is fine. Alright, I'm gonna open up the model of Link in Blender so we can take a look at it. I guess I already have it. Skip. Okay. link. So here's his textures. So you can kind of see how they did some of this. They have multiple frames of animation for his eye and eyebrows, and his mouth. And then they have like, that's the texture for his whole body. They did some clever UV tricks for that. But yeah, let's go ahead and open that up in Blender. Alright. I think it's an OBJ. Yeah. Alright, so here he is. I don't know if the textures came in. Okay, they did. Cool. So most of these are like different. So that's his mouth. There's eyebrows, pupils. That's the eye. It's the body. Okay, so I'm gonna rename these just so I can. Let's see. So it's eye. And then eyebrows. And what's this? That's his mouth. What's this? That's probably his sheath. Yeah. Okay, so obviously we're getting some like Z fighting because the way that some of this stuff is. Like if I were to remake this, I would still have the mouth be attached to the face mesh, but I would just have it UV'd separately. And that may be how they did it initially, and just when they exported it and re-imported it, that's what we ended up with. It makes sense that the eyes are separate. But I'm pretty sure the pupils, the pupils are just moved around through a shader. So let's see. So like, I see I can kind of move them around like that. And let's see. So again, he's really low poly. He's got some like strategically placed triangles, and like the way that the UVs are done is pretty clever. They probably could have gotten more clever with the UVs, in my opinion. Because they could have made these like hand-painted shadows look a little bit more sharp if they added extra edge loops, and because the way that they have it right now is like, let's see. So they have a lot of like overlapping geometry. And some of this is kind of hard to deal with because of the way that it's already triangulated. So I can't just like cut in my own edge loops very easily. But again, like, they did some clever stuff with just stretching out UVs. It's like this here. Let's see. Where is this? Okay, so that's on his sleeve. So they, like these sleeve polygons, they're just stretched all along here, and they get a gradient by stretching the UVs across a harsh pixel transition. And because of the way that the UVs work, it you kind of get like this blurred gradient from this darker green to the lighter green. You can kind of see it here at the wrist a little bit better. So that's cool. But like they could have, they probably could have made this section of the boot look a little bit better if they had like straightened out the UVs, because you can kind of see here. Let's see. Like it's really low res and pixelated, drawn in at an angle. But if they had added a little bit more geometry, they could have made it straight, and that way it would look less pixelated. But for the most part, it's like really well done. And then some other things that they did that you can't really tell in Blender, but you can tell in game, is they either through a shader or just like rendering order, they made it so the eyebrows render in front of the hair. I'm not 100% sure how to go about doing something like that, but I'm not doing I don't want to do a one-to-one recreation of Wind Waker. I just want to mainly copy some of the mechanics and style. Yeah. And this, so this rip from the game also didn't come with, did not come with a rig, so I was gonna have to rig it anyway, so I'm gonna just start from scratch. But I want to like analyze some of this a little bit because it's interesting. So let's see. Okay, he did come in extremely big. So I'm gonna shrink him down to what I think is a reasonable size. So I'm guessing like that's about how tall he should be. There we go. So now if I add a cube, it should be like a little bit bigger than him. Cool. So let's get some idea of the proportions real quick. That's about where his eye line is. Let's say his knee is about there. His ankle's about there. He's got real little feet. Man, I can set this up. Glad it's helpful. Hi, how you doing? Glad you're here. Otherwise, I'd just be talking to myself. But yeah, Wind Waker is a fantastic game, and I would love to make something like it. So I had this idea to make a character. This is like a really dumb idea, but make a character that is a Lynx. So it's kind of like Link, but not quite Link. So he'll be a little animal guy, similar proportions to Link. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this. Nice. All right. Yeah, it's a little confusing if you don't know what you're looking at, and especially like so in a game engine, all models get triangulated when you import them, because the GPU only knows how to deal with triangles. So, you know, any quad is technically just two triangles. It's just one of them, like one edge is kind of implied. But a lot of older games especially, they would go in and manually put in triangles. So like you can kind of see here, like this edge loop here is his elbow. Or no, I think it's this one actually. But a lot of times in like, in a more modern game, you would see just, let's see. Let's just make it 8. So in a more modern game, the way that they would do the elbow is probably something like this, where you would have the bone line up with this this edge here, and these are kind of like supporting edges. So when you bend this, you don't get too much distortion. But there's actually a lot of tricks that you can do where if you have it a triangle, like broken into triangles on one end, you can kind of like get the elbow joint to collapse a specific way. So like these edges will stretch. These two here will stretch. And this edge here will compress. Like that. And it doesn't distort as much. Which, for a model like this, it doesn't really matter that much because, you know, there's not a lot of texture detail going on. But for more realistic characters, it's more of a big deal. And so, yeah, I was also looking at this website here. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. Noclip.website. They have a whole bunch of games that you can look at. And they have, you know, different levels you can go into and see how they did things. And they have like different render hacks that you can turn on so you can see the wireframe. Vertex color is one that you don't see used as much nowadays in games, but Nintendo used it a lot in older games. And I think they still use it for a lot of stuff. It's especially noticeable in stuff like Ocarina of Time. Like, if we look at Kokiri Forest, let's see. They don't have a lot of the render hacks for this one. Let's see. Okay, so on like Ocarina of Time 3D, they used it to really good effect. So they're using a few different interesting things here because they have this distance fog, which gives this cool atmospheric effect. And you can like tweak the fog settings in here. You can just turn them off entirely. So this will show you like the way that they UV'd a lot of this stuff, which is kind of interesting. So if you turn off the textures and you just have the vertex color, they did this kind of interesting thing with their shaders where it basically will kind of split the color into two separate effects. So if it's well, I guess they did it with two channels of vertex color. So if it's white, it will be like an overlay effect, and if it's dark, then it'll be a multiply effect. And so, you know, they like painted this area brown, it'll lighten it up a little bit, and they have like these painted in shadows and highlights and everything. And when you have that overlaid on top of the textures, you get like a really nice look with really low res geometry. It's pretty cool. I'm not sure how much. Yeah, I don't think they used a whole lot of Vertex color stuff in Wind Waker because they're going for that really graphical style. But a lot of this, I don't know exactly how they did some of this stuff. It almost looks like they have this this grass texture and path texture in one file. They might be separate files. But you can tell that like this path here, they're let's see. If I turn on the wireframe, so the path is only 1 quad wide. So they have this basically like a strip. Yeah, it works like it would in Photoshop, but just inside of a shader. Shaders are something that I don't know as much about as I wish I did. But a shader is basically just a little program that runs on the GPU. So another example of like a shader effect is this grass that's like blowing in the wind. It would be really expensive if all of these were like rigged objects with bones and everything. But basically what they're doing is they have a gradient where it's black on the bottom and white on the top, I'm assuming. And they basically use, so like black is like no influence and white is full influence, and they're using math like a sine wave to move the individual vertices left and right and stuff. And they're using that gradient as sort of a mask for how much it should move. And that's how they're able to have, like, you know, this much grass all together without just destroying the hardware that it's running on, because it's not a rigged object, it's just a little program. And they also do some tricks where, so you see this rupee here. If I'm far away, it culls, so it just doesn't render the rupee. But then there are other objects like, you know, these birds that will render further away, because you want to be able to see them in the distance. And then they have an interesting shader going on here for the water lapping up onto the beach. So they have, like, you know, one layer of the water and then another layer for the wet sand. And actually, I think for the water, they have like multiple textures layered on top of each other. And scrolling, so you have like a scroll that's going this way, but then you have another scroll that's going horizontal along these edges to give you that shimmery effect. And then they've got these little wave peaks that I think they're just individual quads that are like scaling up and moving. This might be a particle system, actually. And then they're using a sky sphere, I think. if I can get all the way out of here. Yeah, so I'm outside of the sphere. It's like an inside-out sphere. And then they have this cloud layer that I'm guessing is just like mapped onto, and they got a lens flare for the sun. I'm not exactly sure how they did the clouds. Yeah. So let's see if I turn on the wireframe. So yeah, there's like more geometry that's just like really, really far away for this stuff, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, you can see here the sky dome. I wonder what this quad over here is. Oh, that must be the water. Maybe? What is over here? Yeah, they really did. They did some really cool stuff. Okay, so that's just the island. And they have like this dynamic water grid. I wish there was a way to like in these views to enable like a black wireframe over top of the textured view. I don't think there's a way to do that, unfortunately. Okay, so these layers are, I guess, are just like different states that the world can be in. It's like this one, the bridge is gone. This one has the whirlpool, which is a cool effect. I wonder what the wireframe of that looks like. Okay, so it's just like a flat disc, and they're just scrolling a texture on it. Interesting. I turned on all the layers at once. It's probably not. Okay, so the layers are for dynamic objects, I believe. And like most of this world stuff I would consider like static geometry. Yeah, too many Helm rocks. Alright, let's look at some like interiors. Let's see like Dragon Roost Cavern. So they have this, let's see. So it's kind of hard to see in this view, but see there's like this border edge that goes around the edge of this platform. And that's just like a piece of trim that blends this tiling texture with this other tiling texture here. And they are using vertex colors in this to do like lighting effects and stuff like that. So you can kind of see they're using, it looks like they're using a vertex color as a mask for where the light effects for the well, maybe not. So I guess they just have like a scrolling smoke texture that scrolls over top of the tiling world. Or actually the smoke might just be like a camera effect. But yeah, they're using the vertex color to do like fake lighting. And shadows and stuff. So if we only had the vertex colors. So yeah, they like painted the edges and bottom, but not the top, so it has that lighting effect. Yeah, I don't know that there's actually any... So I think the things like these torches are probably like the only lights in the scene, and most of it's just vertex colors and like a global like directional light. But actually, I think I remember the light, the flames and stuff aren't actually real lights. They're kind of like this fake, some kind of trick that they use to render that. And then you got like another trim sort of thing here. So I think this wood part is a tiling texture, and then this metal trim is probably a separate tiling trim sort of thing. Yeah. And then you have these trim sheets here, which are probably part of another tiling texture. Trim sheets are cool. I'm not sure if you know much about those, but they're kind of a way that you can get a little bit more mileage out of what would just be a tiling texture by UVing things in such a way that you have like strips on your tiling texture that you can UV things like doorways and little details, and have them tile separately from like the bulk of everything else. And let's see the boss room. Such a simple little boss room. it's these cracks are kind of cool because you can kind of see they're using the this same texture as the surrounding wall, but then they're probably using a different material or just vertex colors in those cracks. Yeah, let's see if that is just vertex color. Yeah, so those cracks are entirely just vertex color, and it's using the same texture as the wall and everything. And so they do use lights for the actual characters with the cell shading, because you can't really do cell shading without a light source. But it looks like these they probably only take a single directional light, and so he's lit from underneath to be all spooky. But I don't think this no clip has the actual cell shader that they used. Let's look at some of the other so like they have this they've got this wood tree ring sort of thing, and that's probably a square texture, and they used the same texture here and here. Then they have like this tiling grass that's just kind of splotchy, and they have good tiling wood. I got these trees, a little moss hanging off. And that's actually got like an alpha clip transparency there. And then yeah, this whole level has a distance fog on it. And they might have like separate, yeah, they have separate distance fog areas for different rooms. I'm not sure how they do that. But so for my purposes, I want to build a little let's see. Gotta open up Krita. Let's do, that's fine. Alright, let's switch over to this view. So so I want to do an outdoor area. So that will probably be like, you know, we'll have grass area here. Have some sort of dirt, and then like cliff face sort of thing, and a sky, and obviously we'll have our little character who can run around. And he'll have a sword, and a shield. And then we'll have a dungeon scene as well. And that will have things like So we'll have like a brick wall sort of deal. And like floor tiles. This will be a different color. And then like, you know, a doorway, maybe a torch that can be on the wall. And then some like interactable things like, you know, an actual door, maybe like a treasure chest. And then some sort of monster. That will probably be like a lizard guy. So that's the idea. A really rough drawing, just to get my idea down. Kind of come up with an idea of. Yeah, we probably also want to have like dungeon entrance doorway. So, have a lemon. The sun just looks like a lemon. So I think that's like plenty to get started with. So I think I'll start with the outdoor, because I think it'll be slightly easier. Actually, the indoor might be easier. I'm not entirely sure. Let's look at some more outdoor areas here. Okay, yeah, so we have the path. Let's see, what's the wireframe look like? This is such like a classic old school Nintendo thing to do, like put you in a little valley that you can't get out of, so you don't have like invisible walls, you just have a little area you can walk through. And then like these pillar parts are using the same texture as this, looks like. I have this unique part, which actually this and this might be part of the same UV or like same texture, so it might be this trim that's got like, you know, this pattern, it's got the edge with the moss, it's got the squares, and then it's got the triangles. is my guess as to how they did that. So it's basically, it's a tiling texture that only tiles horizontally and not vertically. And like, see, like the color here doesn't even really match this color, but it's close enough that you don't really, your eye doesn't really jump to it necessarily, unless you're being like me and staring at every little detail. Okay, so let's start with like a tiling grass texture. So let's fill it in with like green. Might be a little dark. And let's look at our brushes. Keep getting my hotkeys mixed up. So in Krita, you can do this cool thing where if you hit Shift W, it will tile or toggle a wrap mode. My rig is not cooperating with me today. So yeah, don't want it to be obvious that it's tiling, but something like that is, you know, pretty good. Another thing that we're gonna do with this sort of study is we're not necessarily gonna worry about texture resolution the same way that they would for Wind Waker. Say this is a PNG. Call it grass tiling. Cool. So let's hop back over to Godot. Go to our outdoor world scene. Let's make a material for that. Say albedo, texture, quick load, grass. So now if I go in our scene, let's add a, actually in this grass material, let's go in the UVs and we're gonna set it to be set it to be triplanar for now. Which just means it will, the way that it tiles will, will look correct without having to make any actual UVs for now. Let's see. So there's our grass. And if we scale it up to be really big, it didn't work. We want world triplanar. Yeah, there we go. Actually, let's make this really big. So when you're really far away, you can see the tiling, but like when you're up close, you can't. You can't really. And that's kind of what we're looking for. So let's hop back over. So like this grass here, it almost looks like they're not using a texture at all, but I think they're just using one that's extremely stretched out. Like, I'm guessing that this whole like outer area is all using the same texture. That's just really stretched. So now I want to make something kind of like this, like a tiling cliff. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, you know, you're seeing that grass in the distance from like this far away, if you're seeing it at all. So like here would be the only place where you can see. There's not really a whole lot of detail. So it looks like they have two separate cliffs. They've got one that's yo, how's it going? We're looking at Wind Waker stuff, trying to recreate some of it. I made this this tiling grass texture, and we just brought that into Godot. That we've been looking at Link's model from Wind Waker, kind of analyzing the way that they did the textures and the modeling and everything. Talked about the shaders a little bit, didn't go too in depth on that. And then we also were looking at a few different levels on NoClip, just kind of looking at how they did some of this stuff. Yeah, definitely. So my goal is to let's see. So I want to make an indoor and an outdoor area with a character controller that can run around. Yes, noclip.website is amazing. So yeah, I want to have an indoor scene that's a dungeon, and an outdoor scene that's kind of just like a little chunk of an open world area you can run around in that has the entrance to the dungeon that you can enter, and it will load the dungeon scene, unload the outdoor scene, and vice versa. Like have a door in the dungeon that takes you back out. Maybe have like one type of enemy and a couple things that you could interact with, like a treasure chest and a door. Yeah. And the outdoor, I might have like some rocks and trees and stuff, and then some other prop things for inside the dungeon. So we're just kind of spitballing ideas, looking at UVs. Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, if I want to make more, I can. If not, I can just move on to other stuff. I am still working on Unreal stuff as well, just on the side. I'm not sure how that project is gonna go, but I need to practice my Unreal stuff when I'm not on stream, just because I'm so rusty. I feel like I've kicked the rust off enough with Godot that I'm more comfortable streaming that than I am Unreal. So we got like a broken stone texture here. Oh, let me switch over to. So yeah, we have like a few different texture sort of things that we want to do. We have like a path. There's some really funky stuff happening on the UVs at this area here. Over here. What does the wireframe look on like that on that? Yeah, so there's like some really big quads. There's some little triangles, and then some really stretched out quads. And I think they did that because this path is a strip that has grass on both sides, so it tiles. I'm gonna say it tiles vertically if the path is moving vertically. So it's basically like a tiling dirt patch and then two strips of tiling grass on the sides. But because of that, they had to really stretch these quads off of, because they wanted this path to go in a circle around here. I guess like an octagon or hexagon. Yeah, hexagon. Yeah, this is definitely like the best reference area, I think, for what I want to try to make. Yeah, let's see. I probably need to wrap up here in a little bit. I can go for maybe 20 more minutes. So I'll go ahead and make a let's see. Gonna make another tiling texture. So this one, I'm gonna use the same grass base, but then I'm gonna do some like dirt path in the middle. And we're gonna tile it vertically, but not horizontally. And we probably want that the strip of grass to be pretty small. I just want like a really texture-y thing. It might be too dark. Let's undo. Let's just make a new layer and do it on that layer. Don't want to go on the grass part of it too much. I keep mixing up my hotkeys. Okay, let's try some different layer styles on that. I think darken is what I want. And then this wall section here kind of looks like it's a similar deal where it's tiling, but it's horizontally tiling instead of vertically tiling, and it's got the grass at the bottom and the top, and a little bit of like moss sort of stuff in the middle. I'm not in love with the way this looks right now. So let's mess with it some more. I think part of the issue too might be that I'm adding like too much detail. This is another like annoying thing when I mix up my hotkeys. There we go. Is that it will not quite look as good when it does tile. Maybe I should be making it a little bit more flat, and then I can worry about tinting it with vertex colors. That should be fine. Turn those back off. Look at me naming my layers. Oh, you can't see it because I'm on the wrong thing. That's one of the issues of streaming with multiple monitors. Remembering to switch which one I'm showing. Alright, so That is not the effect I want. It's a city brush. What is this? Alright, that's not quite what I want, but it's closer. Brush is extremely slow and laggy. Oh boy, that's weird. These are too laggy. So let's start with just some shapes that we can this doesn't really look how I want it to look. Well, I'm running out of steam a little bit. So I think after this ad break that's coming up, I'm gonna wrap up. We can do a little bit more analysis on some of this stuff. All right, let's look at some other areas. Untested maps. Pig chamber. What the heck? Pig chamber? I'm intrigued. This map is called Pig Chamber. We got this interesting like bas relief sort of thing up here. This kind of looks just like a test area, but it's got pigs in it. It's got some crates, got some platforms, it's got a door that leads nowhere. But this is a good, it's Ganon's basement. It is a good example of some trim sheet stuff. Like you can see, you have this tiling element here, and this tiles, looks like they unwrapped this doorway using the just tiling brick texture. Yeah, this definitely looks like something we could do within our skill level as far as texturing. Bridge room. What the heck? I don't see a bridge. Large empty room. Another test room, looks like. Fire mountain. Okay. Looks like an early test version of outside of Fire Mountain. But yeah, this one's got another one of those path textures, it looks like. Smoke test room. Okay, so this looks like it's just a room to test the fog. Interesting. And this looks like a really early version of the tiling brick texture. Got a couple different tiling floors. Cool. Tingle's room. Oh no, it's scary in here. Is that a Pepe? Did Tingle paint a Pepe? Okay. See, these are really cool. This gives me a really good idea of how they're doing some of this stuff. C T C E. Oh, this is like all of the whole bunch of grotto areas. Weird. It's like a bunch of grottos all in one. This is cool though. This is good insight. Get to see lots of different texture sets and assets and everything. Test 61. Okay, this is just like a little room testing that vertex paint sort of thing on the walls. Test 62. Testing some okay, this looks like an early version of the Cave of Ordeals, maybe? E3 root. Ooh, I love these like meter textures. It's good. I make stuff like this where it's just a grid and ooh, we got Koroks. So this one's probably to test like the character animations and shaders and stuff. Tetra with no eyes, that's creepy. He's only okay. We got Arrow looking a kind of way. Got two of this guy. Enemy test room, maybe. Okay, so these black hole things are wall masters, I think. It's a bombable wall, some breakable things, some ladders. I'm guessing that that's a moving platform. You got a bunch of different breakable objects. You got these things that I think they spin when you blow them with the Deku Leaf. So this was probably to just test some interactivity of things, like grass that you can cut or burn or something. Oh, these are nests, I think, for the rock things. And we got some Beamos. Interesting. More characters. Lots of keys. Some of those switches that you can hit. We got some Deku Babas, or Boko Babas, I mean. Got some of those birds, bokoblins. Interesting. So yeah, I will probably be building some rooms like this to test various things. Got some nice flowers. Got one of the headstones. Wonder if these are to test ice physics, maybe. Those are iron boot switches, I think. Got a pushable block. I wonder if these rooms were like to get approval on certain art assets or something before they went into the actual game. Because it almost looks like you could use these switches to trigger different things. So like, you know, you could step on that to trigger learning one of the songs, or breaking the thing, or moving platforms. You got a gong. You got these Moblin statues that shoot lasers at you, I think. Cool. Lots of characters. Like every kind of rupee. Yeah. For sure. Testing specific object interactions. Oh, we have the like Dragon Roost smoke. I think this is like the light that you would get from in the Earth Temple that you use the mirror shield on, maybe. Maybe not. And then we got warp pots. Got whatever this is. It's like shipwreck pieces from Forsaken Fortress. It's a hatch from one of the submarines, it looks like. Some hookshot targets, breakable pots. Interesting. So this looks like testing the water shader on like where it would interact with different objects on Outset Island. That's my guess. It's like, this looks like the bridge that would take you out to the tower. Maybe. Maybe not. Hard to tell. Ooh, this one's cool. It's got like different types of slopes. So I'm guessing those numbers are the angle. It's like 15, 10, 5, 20, 30 degree. Just to test like how the character controller handles on those slopes. We have like stairs, water, it looks like. These are probably testing the shaders on them. Different ladder heights. Spiral staircases. This is cool. And we got just the ship. This might be from a cutscene. Got another similar looking test level. It almost looks the same. Might be slightly different. And then this looks like testing maybe testing the grappling hook or some of the mechanics from the Dragon Roost Island, Dragon Roost Cavern, I mean. Cool. Alright, I think I'm gonna wrap up here. Thanks for hanging out. Probably be back on Thursday with another one of these streams. Maybe I'm gonna make some actual 3D models using using our tiling textures and make a little environment. Yeah, thanks for hanging out. I think we're gonna raid Rebecca Roney because she is being featured on the front page of Twitch in the art category. And that's cool. Oh, thanks for the sub. That means a lot. You're my number 3 sub. Yeah, we'll raid over to Reb and say hi. And then yeah, I'll see you guys on Thursday. Awesome. Glad you could learn something. All right, let's get this raid going. All right. We raid. Bye.